Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the February 2025 meeting of Safe Silver Spring. This is our quarterly meeting with the Montgomery County Police Department's third district. And over the course of the evening, please feel free to answer any questions that you have. We'll start at 7:30 and we'll go 8:30, maybe closer to 9, depending on what kind of questions that you have. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our commander, Jason Cokinos, who is our new third district commander. Commander, let me turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. And I'm on two devices because I got my camera's not working on one of my things. So, anyway, thanks for having me on. This is my second time joining you, and appreciate us doing this. And I look forward to doing them this year. I know we've planned out the dates, and we're excited to keep interacting with everybody. I think it's important that we keep sharing what's going on, and so folks know what's happening, and then like you said, that ability to ask and answer questions. So a couple things just from the third district I'll start with, and then I do want to talk about some crime numbers and data, which I think people will find interesting, potentially. Some good news, some areas that we need to improve, and just kind of an overall picture. We're doing a lot better than Washington, D.C. and Prince George's County. So those are two good things to note. And we border both of those jurisdictions. But before we get into that data, I just want to point out that Tony Galladora is on the call. He's one of the deputy commanders. He oversees our George sector, which is downtown Silver Spring, basically inside the Beltway there. And then two pieces of information. One, Al Dezenkowski and Greg Schmiel, both of the other lieutenants for the third district, have been recently reassigned. Effective this coming Sunday, they'll be moving to work out of headquarters. Doug Miller's on this call. He is coming to replace Al Dezenkowski, and I'll let Doug introduce himself here in a little bit. He is no stranger to the third district, spent many years like I did. We both worked midnight shift down here together for a while. I don't know who the replacement is for Greg Schmiel just yet. I'm hoping to figure that out tomorrow. That lieutenant is who will oversee White Oak, Hillendale, Burtonsville, and up in Fairland and stuff like that. So I don't quite have a replacement yet, but we will soon. So I'll dive into some of the numbers and then let Tony and Doug talk. Tony's obviously got a lot going on downtown with trying to improve things, working in partnership around the shelter and some other things like that. We had, I remember last July when I got here, the corner of Sligo and Georgia Avenue by the daycare was pretty much taken over. We've cleaned that up. It remains cleaned up. I just drove through there again this week, and it's looking really good. And so we're definitely keeping the pressure on things like that. So crime statistics, we just got access to, and for those that look at stocks and stuff, right? You don't just look at the performance of your stock, year to date or 30 days. You like to look at the trends 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, right? See how the performance has been. Well, I'm doing that with our crime in Silver Spring. And now I'm not going back 10 years, but I'm looking at year to date, last year comparisons, and then we're looking at 5-year trend lines. What's particularly interesting about 5 years is 5 years puts us at 2019. It's a full year of data before COVID and before the horrible incident involving George Floyd happened in Minnesota. Both of those things significantly changed public safety and just our overall crime and the community and everything like that. We saw in 2022 and 2023, crime skyrocketed. 2023 was probably the worst year for Silver Spring in a while. But I have a lot of good news to report. So 2024 was a great year for Silver Spring. We're heading in a very good direction. We have weapons related offenses are down almost 20%. Our murder rate for Silver Spring is down 46%. Robberies were down 11%, auto theft down 23%, car break-ins down 7%. We did see, and we are still struggling with, and I'll talk more about this, our shoplifting problem, our theft problem. That was up 11%. And theft of auto part, which is airbag and wheels, were up. That is a relatively new trend over the last year and a half, is the aggressive targeting of airbags and wheels in the whole region. So violent crime last year in 2024 down, shootings are down, carjackings down significantly. We're talking 60% down about. That's something that in 2023, and it's still going on now in other jurisdictions. There's still a lot of carjackings going on, but fortunately, Silver Spring, significant decline. So a lot of good news. Particularly the downtown had the most significant reductions in crime in 2024. There's a lot of factors with that. We put a lot of efforts into downtown after 2023 and 2022 when we had violence down there. Our robberies downtown Silver Spring in 2024 compared to 23 are down about 30%. Stolen cars down about 40%. Car break-ins down about 25%. Weapons offenses down about 24%. Theft from auto part, that's the wheels and stuff, were down compared to 23. But we're starting to see that trend tick back up in 25. So that's not something really to celebrate. But the one thing that was up in downtown Silver Spring was shoplifting was up 17% compared to 2023. When you look at the 5-year trend compared to 2019, retail theft in downtown Silver Spring is up 128%. The businesses are being victimized by retail theft organizations, crews, people coming from outside jurisdictions and committing a variety of theft at not only our CVS's, our grocery stores, and the various shopping establishments downtown. That is, retail theft is going to be one of our top priorities in 2025. Retail theft, and we want to keep our foot on the gas pedal with violent crime, particularly gun violence, to make sure that we keep driving that down. What's interesting is the 5-year trend on robberies, and these are armed robberies and robberies that don't involve a weapon but just physical force. We are 1.6% below pre-pandemic, pre-George Floyd numbers. So that's a really good indication. Burglaries are about 10% compared to pre-2020. So we have some work to do there. We have seen weapons incidents. They skyrocketed in 22, 23. They're trending down, but we're still up about 30%. Weapons incidents could be shots that were fired, displays of weapons, things of that nature. So again, we're seeing trends going down, but we have a lot more work to do. Our homicide rate, we had a very violent year in 2021 and 23. In 2019, we had 4 homicides in Silver Spring in the 3rd district. Last year, we had 7. So, but that is significantly less than the 13 that we had the year before and 10 before that. So, 1 is too many, but we're seeing, again, trends going back down in the right direction. And the goal is to do better than this 5-year comparison, to do better than 2019, to keep driving it down. 5 years of data, our car break-ins are actually down almost 20%. They're below what they were before the pandemic. But when we look at our theft of auto part, which are those wheels and airbags, that's what's really exploded the last year and a half. And although it dipped a little bit into downtown, it was very high in other parts of Silver Spring, particularly our Ida sector and White Oak, Briggs Cheney. Those areas are really being affected by auto theft and theft of auto parts. So when we look at 2025, where are we at right now? It's been about a month and a half. It's been very cold, so we need to take that into an account. But we're already seeing year to date, January 1 to February 19th, compared to 2024, right? And we know in 24 we started trending down. We're already trending down below where we were in 24. So again, great directions. Robberies down 14%. In the downtown Silver Spring area, robberies compared to this time last year are down 47%. So significant decrease there. Stolen cars down 4%. Assaults are down 31%. We are year to date seeing a 20% increase. Again, still we're struggling with these weapons. Now, what we're getting is an increase in data because we're aggressively engaging folks that are engaged in crime. And what we're finding is, like, some of our shoplifters who we're focusing on, we're catching them and they have guns in their possession, or we're encountering someone that is involved in another crime and they're armed, breaking into cars. So we're increasing the amount of guns that we're seizing to include traffic stops. Proactive traffic enforcement is uncovering loaded firearms, illegally possessed firearms, that when we remove them from the street, who knows what we're preventing, a homicide, a shooting, or what. So we think there's a strong correlation with a decrease in our violent crime and our posture of aggressively looking for illegally possessed firearms and felony individuals that are engaged in crime while armed. We're going to keep doing that in 2025. So just to recap, things are heading in a very good direction out of 24. They're continuing to look good for 25. We can't be complacent. We can't let our foot off the gas pedal. We have some work to do, particularly around retail theft and stolen autos and car break-ins. And those are the areas that we're going to be focusing on in 2025, along with hopefully keeping our violent crime trending downward. So that's the crime update. Obviously, people might have questions, and we'll get to those. But I'd like to let Tony Galladora chime in, and then let Doug Miller introduce himself, and then we can talk about what anybody wants to talk about. Tony, for some reason we can't hear you. I don't know if your microphone's working. Yep, there you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yep. Trying to get fancy with a couple monitors here, and that didn't work. So, so Tony Gallador, Deputy Commander, 3rd District at the downtown Silver Spring area. A couple cases I'll give you updates on. Actually, starting all the way back in November, we started having we had an armed robbery at one of our commercial establishments, a little more up 29. Throughout the weeks and months after that, we had a few more. And due to some really good work by our detectives and our patrol officers, they were able to develop a suspect. Some of the stores that got hit, convenience stores like our 7-Eleven and beer stores downtown. Ultimately, we had 7 that occurred, but we were able to identify a suspect in that one, made an arrest about a week ago. Very happy to get him off the streets. I know some of you probably in your community, right there, kind of right off Colesville, might have seen some of the stores that got hit, and I know there's a lot of community involvement and helping support some of those businesses. So again, that individual was charged with 7 armed robberies, and it was really good police work from some of our folks. So we're very happy about that. As you mentioned, we're still doing a ton of work with Progress Place. Officer Nikki Hawkins and Officer McLean are kind of our go-to folks down there. They're literally handling stuff there every single day with the staff, meeting with some of the individuals that are kind of causing us calls for service outside the immediate area. And it's just been an incredible partnership. I can't speak highly enough of the collaboration and coordination that's been going on with the staff at Progress Place. Trying to address issues in a very compassionate manner, but also make sure we're keeping things, tight, because we do know it very, very easily can impact the community and businesses around. So a ton of work going on over there. And we're seeing some of the benefits from that. Our serious incidents, Officer Hawkins has been there since about a little more than a year, working directly with them. And our violent incidents at Progress Place have gone down significantly. We did do a press release. Our cold case did a press release, and I'll try to drop it in the chat here in a minute. We had a homicide at the Wayne Avenue garage over 2 years ago now, if you can believe it. It's been that long. They do have some pictures of some potential witnesses that they released to the public, and they are looking for help to identify those folks and speak with them. So again, I'll drop that link for that press release in the chat. And if you have any information, there's a phone number in there to reach out and contact them. Officer McLeod has joined our community engagement section in our district. If you haven't seen him, he's a very smiley, bubbly guy. He's very, very excited to be out there and doing the coffee with the cops, doing just a ton of community events, and he's been very proactive, and he's really looking out to get out to more meetings and meet more folks. He does a very good job with the youth engagement and things like that. So if you have any ideas or suggestions you want to get him involved in, he's all about it. I think I did see a question if the drone is first responder, the drone program continuing to the drop of crime. You're very lucky because you're about to hear from Lieutenant Miller next. He was our he's our drone program manager and managed that program along with Commander Cokinos in his former role. My personal opinion, and I know my boss knows this, is I think it absolutely has had an impact in the drop in crime. I think our George sector, particularly the downtown, had a higher percentage of reduction in crime compared to much of the other parts of the county. I also think that it was helpful that we had the closing of the hookah bars. I think that also contributed as well. So I think there was a couple things, but in my opinion, it absolutely did. And I think it's been very helpful, and I'm sure Lieutenant Miller would be happy to speak more to that.
And I just want to jump in real quick on that, I absolutely agree with you. When you're making, a stew, there's multiple ingredients that you're putting in. And I will tell you that the drone as first responder is one of the main ingredients in this stew that has resulted in a reduction in crime. Downtown Silver Spring last year averaged overall about a 12% drop in crime, which beats the countywide average of 7%. So downtown Silver Spring had a more significant average drop than the rest of the county. I think the drone had a lot to do with that. There's been a ton of success. I also think there's other initiatives we've done with our real-time information center, with cameras, with business and community engagement, with proactive initiatives. We had in November and December, we had a slew of extra officers working. We were doing the metro subway there, the interdicting fare evaders, which we think deterred additional crimes up in the downtown. And we had some covert assets downtown. We brought in extra covert resources from Rockville. So a lot of things contributed, and I do think the drone was a big part of that. Sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, that's perfect. And then again, as you mentioned, really the theft from autos and auto thefts is still, it's absolutely come down, but it's still not where we need it to be. So we're still doing a lot of work on that. And our retail theft. We partnered directly with a lot of businesses that are getting impacted heavily and doing a lot of work with their loss prevention and management. And they've been highly effective at catching people. But again, there's still more work to do. Before someone asks, I know the speeding on Dale Drive. I know Alan reached out a few weeks ago back in January. I reached out to our traffic complaint officer. He had already done a small speed study out at Dale and Galveston. And based on that, the numbers did look a little bit high, but it was only the short speed study. So we took that, we sent it to our centralized traffic division. They're going to do a bigger speed study, and I've never worked over there, so I'm not sure exactly what's involved in that. But they said they would do a bigger speed study and see if it would be an appropriate place for speed cameras. The other thing we looked at was, and we could also drop this in the chat, Data Montgomery posts all the crash data, all the traffic collision data. I did look on that, and again, that's all public information. Anybody can get to it. And as far as the crash data, I will tell you, Dale Drive does not look to have a bunch of red dots on it like our main arterial roads do. So the crash data isn't very strong to support it, but I think the speed study does show some increased speeds. So I'm kind of going to defer a little bit to our traffic division. They haven't gotten back to us yet. And then I did see a question pop up about speed bumps. That's not any of the engineering stuff is outside the police department, so I really can't give any suggestions or guidance on that one.
But I will say, if it's a county road, it's a lot easier to get speed humps, number one. State road is a whole nother thing. Dale Drive being a county road, and I think you got to advocate to county DOT. However, they would do their own, I think, study as well. But any study we're doing could assist in advocating for in engineering improvements like that. So obviously, we're happy to help you all as the community as you navigate that the best we can. But we don't get the say so on that. But we surely can share our opinions if asked.
And if you want to pass it over to Lieutenant Miller to introduce himself.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can.
So I am Lieutenant Miller. Right now, tomorrow is my last day at Special Operations. I currently oversee the Operational Support Section, which is our public order team and our air support unit. But before that, I did most of my time in this job in Silver Spring. I did about 10 years as a officer on the Midnights. Then I got promoted to corporal, went up to Germantown. After a year, I got promoted to sergeant. I came back as the Midnight Sergeant for Silver Spring. So I was the Midnight downtown supervisor from basically 2014 to about 2022-ish. So during COVID and everything. So I'm very familiar with Silver Spring. I'm happy to be back. I consider it my second home. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
And Doug is going to take over the midnight shift and some other duties. Right now, Silver Springs broke up into 3 geographical sectors. George is downtown. Henry sector is Piney Branch, University, and Four Corners. And the Ida sector is up in White Oak and Burtonsville and up north. We're in the process, the police department is in the process of essentially getting rid of the Henry sector, and that geographical area will be absorbed by the other 2 sectors. So Piney Branch and Flower Avenue, Piney Branch and University will become part of the George sector, and Four Corners and Hillendale will become part of the Ida sector. So Lieutenant Miller is going to oversee the Henry sector when he gets here on Monday while that still exists. It doesn't necessarily change. The police officers are still going to be assigned to those areas. It doesn't impact the number of officers and the servicing. It's just more of an organizational change. And it will change essentially it's not going to change your police reporting area. Every neighborhood at the granular level is assigned a police reporting area number. So your numbers will all stay the same. It's just the letter of the sector you're in is going to potentially change depending on where you live. But again, nothing that really impacts the day-to-day safety or deployment of officers. Oh, and I saw a picture or a comment, sorry, Alan, about University near Northwood. I don't know what that is. Happy to look it up. I actually think the old Northwood High School area has been given over to the 4th District, if I remember correctly.
Before we open it up to questions, on behalf of our neighborhood, Park Hills, and the Seven Oaks Evanswood neighborhood, we want to thank you and the entire staff for the amazing follow-up you did for the armed robberies that we had at Erders, the convenience store near the elementary school and the middle school, and apparently in other areas as well. We were a little anxious about that, and we're glad you brought that to a rapid, speedy conclusion. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I just want to touch on that real quick. That's unusual. We don't see that type of crime in that area. It was very unusual to me when I saw those robberies. That is a very safe area. And I was like, there's something weird about this. And so we had a guy that was doing armed robberies up in White Oak. And that's who ends up being the suspect in this, right? He did a couple of robberies up there, White Oak. And the robbery detective, when this guy robbed the market, the person working there, as many of you are familiar with, the family, they were able to provide some good information about very distinct clothing and such, that this individual wore very unique shoes. And the robbery detective, Detective Schmidt, is top notch. He used to be a cop down in Silver Spring. He's an excellent officer. He immediately put the dots together. Well, come to find out, the reason why this guy was down was he had a girlfriend over on Manchester Road over by Sligo Creek Parkway. So that's why this happened. He went over to the market, did the robberies, and went back over to his girlfriend's place. And so that's what kind of brought him down to the area. So it's not a very normal thing to happen.
So thank you very much. You raised our comfort level very considerably by taking that guy off the street. And I want to thank the community for stepping up and helping the family there. They have a new security system. And I know that Kevin and his mother feel much more comfortable and secure in the new situation. So it's opened up for questions now. Please don't be shy. Ask any questions that you have. But let me ask you this question, because I think this is a good threshold question for our meeting, is can you discuss the relationship that the 3rd District officers and staff, MCPD, has with federal immigration officials? And what's your understanding of the extent of cooperations and the limits on cooperation?
Yeah, so I did a big community meeting last night in the Northwest Park area. That's a very heavy Latino neighborhood, so there were some concerns there. So nothing changes from the police department standpoint. The way we've been, we've had policies since the first Trump administration and slightly before that. We provide service to the community, no matter whether you're documented or not. We do not ask questions of individuals when they call 911 or if you're victims. We don't care. We're going to give people the same service no matter who you are. The only change that has been relayed to me is nothing changes with the police. We do not go out on immigration operations. We do not have task force. We have a lot of officers in the police department that are assigned to federal task force, FBI, DEA, Homeland Security. They are not participating in immigration operations. We have gang unit detectives and alcohol, tobacco, firearm task force officers. They're not doing any immigration operations whatsoever. There have been ICE operations in Silver Spring and Tacoma Park. Sometimes they tell us, sometimes they don't, but they do not ask us to help them. The only time that we would show up is if there was a 911 call by somebody and we responded to that to investigate. We're not doing anything with immigration. Immigration is a federal job, and so that's their entity. the only thing that's going on that I know of at the county level is if you are arrested and taken to central processing, our jail, the jail is cooperating in the sense of providing names of individuals that have been charged with crimes. And then it's on ICE to decide what they're going to do with that. So we don't enforce the civil immigration detainers. That's been a longstanding practice because they're not criminal warrants. So if immigration detainers became criminal in nature, we would then be obligated potentially to serve those warrants as we would any other warrant from any other state or federal jurisdiction, but they're not criminal. So that's again on ICE to do that type of stuff. But so nothing changed with police, just with the jail.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive answer. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and officers can look at them and respond at their leisure. Anybody want to ask a question? Because if not, I'll go to my second question, which is we had Chief Yamada at a meeting last Monday night, and he raised a couple of issues that he thought were going to be his priorities, and one of them had to do with officer wellness, and he also talked about recruitment. And I was wondering what your staffing levels are. Are they adequate? Are they very inadequate? What are we doing in the third district to get more officers working here?
So we are understaffed. We're not where we want to be, and what our main focus is making sure that we can respond to 911 calls, and we can keep our forward progress on the crime rate. And as you have less officers, that gets difficult. If I had more officers, there is a lot more proactive initiatives we can be doing to more rapidly drive down the crime rate. So I'm happy with the crime rate declines that we have, knowing how short-staffed we are. What's happening is the officers that we have are working extra hard, and I do appreciate them and everything they do every day. If we had more officers, we could do a lot more. So we have a recruit class that's getting ready to graduate in March, I believe March 20th. And so I'm waiting to hear how many new recruits are going to be assigned to the third district. If we can get 5 or 6, that would be great. It's realistic. I think our class size up in Gaithersburg is about 22 left right now. The fourth district, I can tell you, is Wheaton. That their staffing is probably a little worse than ours, actually. So we're not the worst staffed district, but we're not great. There are a number of initiatives that they're working on to try to increase recruitment. We're working on, and I'm hoping it gets finalized, some relationship with a university that will assist with the college requirement. So there are other Maryland State Police, for example, if you go to their police academy, you get 30 college credits for satisfactory graduation of that. Our goal is we're maintaining the college requirement, but if you satisfactorily complete the police academy, you will get a certain amount of credits that will probably rise to a level that will meet the need for the employment requirement. So we're hoping that's going to open the doors for people that potentially haven't finished college, or maybe they struggle to afford college. You can come work with us, successfully complete all the academic requirements that we have, and then you'll be awarded college credits, which will be great for people. So that hopefully will boom applicants. We have seen an increased number of applicants since we rolled out a new recruiting video and firm. We're hopeful that this summer we're starting a new academy class that will have the largest class in the last couple years. Still not as large as we need. So we're working on that as a department, but we definitely need more people. That's for sure.
Let me just follow up and ask you this question, which is a lot of my neighbors, our neighbors, are concerned about housing affordability, how it affects first responders, particularly police and teachers. Can you just give us some insight of where your officers live? Do they live in the county? Do they have to travel far? How is it putting stress in their lives if they live in Shepherdstown, Gettysburg, or Delaware?
Yeah, so we have I don't remember the exact number, but we have, I think, majority or slight majority of officers still live in the county. There is an increasing number of officers that have moved, up to Frederick County and Carroll County and things of that nature, where housing affordability is better. The council did help a little bit by passing a bill that was gave some relief to property taxes for public safety. But yeah, the officers, the newer off, there. I tell you, in third district, we have officers that live in downtown Silver Spring, that live in Burtonsville, that live in our community. But there are officers that live in Frederick and Gaithersburg and different parts. So, we're increasing. We just finished our contract negotiations with the Fraternal Order of Police. If that gets ratified by the members, if the county council votes to support that, our starting salary effective July 1st is going to be in line with some of our competitors, and it'll be in the top, if either the top one or two, maybe three in the region. So that's going to help us with recruitment, hopefully, and affordability of housing for people that want to live in the county.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I always thought that we should give a stipend to new officers, young officers, so they could help with their rent in apartments in Montgomery County, so they don't have to live outside the area.
It's an interesting thought because Washington, D.C. is doing that. I believe they give a monthly stipend to assist with costs of housing.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. You give 100 officers $2,000 a month, and seems to be a small portion of what our total budget is, and it would have a lot more people living in the community. So more about that later. Anybody have any questions?
I see a few in the chat I can address, Alan, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
So any leads on the auto parts thefts in the North Four Corners area? And I think that there's another question of any progress made on catalytic converters. And then I'll answer the other one. So auto parts, those are wheels and airbags. The airbag crew is different than the wheel crew, but there's multiple different crews. There was an arrest of, and these are all regional folks. They're hitting Fairfax, they're hitting Prince George's, Montgomery, DC. They're hitting us all. There was, I believe, one arrest in Fairfax County of a regional crew, but you take one down and there's 5 others or so. So there's active investigations into all these. There's arrests that are made, and then we spin up on another group, and we're kind of playing cat and mouse with all these auto part teams that are out there. So I know that's ongoing. A lot of communication regionally with our analysts and stuff. The catalytic converters. There was a law that was passed in Maryland that you can't scrap catalytic converters in Maryland without the VIN of the vehicle that it was taken from. That has decreased the catalytic converter thefts. However, recently, it started, I believe, in December, we've seen a tick back up where they've happened again. And what's happening is we're getting criminals that are coming from out of state that are targeting in the whole region catalytic converters. There's a significant regional investigation ongoing that I think we're going to get some very positive results from, hopefully in a short period of time. So yes, I would say very good progress with that. We got a question about a home break-in noise drive. Tony, I don't know if you know anything about that. I can look that one up. I don't remember reading anything about anything on Noise Drive.
No, we didn't have anything in the last weekly, but it sounds like this was just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
No, I did see a question about the enclave. Uh, I know the enclave comes up from time to time. There was a couple break-ins where people were kicking in doors. Folks were home, but it appeared that they were not trying to do like a home invasion style break-in. That it was more of a potentially unhoused folks trying to find shelter in the place. So I believe there were three that we handled in the last week or so, and those are all assigned to our third district investigative section right now.
Yeah, and the only other crime we had in the enclave, I will say, the enclave quieted down, and then we just had these what we're labeling them as attempt burglaries. And again, like Tony said, looks like people trying to kick in doors to see where they can. They're thinking maybe it's a vacant apartment or something. We did have a gunshot in the enclave as well. That appears to be an isolated incident with a dispute between two individuals, and a firearm was discharged. So that they're investigating that as well. But that appears isolated to those individuals. Question here about if someone's actively stealing parts from the car, what can you do? I'm going to tell you what I want. What I would suggest to do is immediately call 911, keep an eye on them, and give us up-to-date information on where they are so we can get there and arrest them. The longer you take to call us, the harder it is for us to catch them. So if they're stealing wheels or an airbag, if you call us right away and say it's in progress, call 911. We can get officers there hopefully very fast. If you don't call us and you choose to engage them yourself, a lot of things can go wrong. There could be a altercation. Somebody could get hurt. They could get away because they run away or they jump in a car and flee. And then we're not even on our way yet. Right. So it puts us at a disadvantage for catching them. Legally, and you can research this, there are laws that govern citizens' arrest. However, it's not something, although you have the right to do a citizen's arrest, it's not something that we want anyone to do because it could be very dangerous. And also, if something goes wrong, there is liability, like the person could sue you, like if you hurt them or something, so there's a lot that could go wrong. So we just want people to call 911, even if you're legally allowed per Maryland law to make a citizen's arrest.
I want to ask a question that I've asked in the past. People have been concerned about the escalation with mental health situations. I'm wondering if there's been any progress with your cooperation with HHS and bringing mental health professionals, on the scene when you have an incident that might be related to mental health.
Yep. And I'm going to answer that. There's a follow on. Yeah. If you videotape or take pictures of people committing a crime, that definitely is helpful. Don't get yourself in a place where you're going to get hurt. Call us first. And then if you want to take video, that's fine too. That's helpful to prove stuff. Definitely helpful. But with regards to mental health, yeah. So we have what we call CIT cars. They're from our behavioral health unit at a headquarters crisis intervention team. They come out and help work specifically with people in mental distress. At Progress Place, we have our homeless outreach officer, Nikki Hawkins. She works with the team at Progress Place hand in hand. They have joined her on different incidents downtown to try to work with people in mental health and get them into treatment. So I will say that from my perspective as the commander, my interactions with HHS since I've been in Silver Spring have been really good. When I need them to do something, they've been very responsive. When I first got here, I enacted a policy or procedure that I wanted. I didn't want any encampments downtown Silver Spring. I don't want tent cities, things like you see in LA. I want people to be safe and get help. we've had to make no arrests related to encampments. HHS and our homeless outreach officer, they engaged everybody, very positive outcomes. We got people get help. We cleaned up the encampments with help of the urban district downtown, Carson's team, the Red Shirts, as some may know them. Truly a lot of partnerships with when it comes to mental health and public safety in Silver Spring. HHS has been a seat at the table with mental health things up in the enclave, and with other issues we've had in Hillendale Shopping Center and stuff like that. So very responsive from HHS. I think they want to do more. I think we want to do more. It's a matter of hiring more people and more specialists and things like that.
Thank you for that answer. If you'd like to be recognized, ask a question, use the raise your hand function. I think you find it under the react button at the bottom of the screen. One of the things that Chief Yamada was focused on was doing more. He was really concerned about juvenile crime. He was very concerned about juveniles with weapons. And he said that one of his priorities would be increasing the engagement with young people. And I was wondering, Chief Jones always said he wanted to see the police athletic leagues come back. And I don't know that they ever made that rebound during his tenure. Wonder if the third district has any particular outreach programs for young people.
Yeah, juvenile crime's a problem. We got two types of juvenile crime, though. Downtown, we get a lot of juvenile crime that is coming into the Silver Spring third district from Prince George's County and from Washington, D.C. That makes it a little hard for us to do positive engagement interaction with those folks that are committing crimes. But we do have things that we've done, and we're doing again. We're doing a basketball tournament coming up this spring. We added another community service officer, Officer McLeod. He's doing a lot of positive youth engagement. We have one of our community engagement officers, Officer Custis. I think he's up at Paint Branch. He has started kind of an informal police athletic league. He's doing it with a bunch of other officers who have volunteered in the Silver Spring area, where they are doing sports with youth and things of that nature. I echo the Chief Yamada's desire to have a more, like, I grew up in Jersey. We had PAL, and it was very effective in working with kids and building relationships. So to have a formal PAL one day would be really nice. But in the meantime, we do have officers that have stepped up. They're great, and they're doing a lot more engagement. And we're seeing even now more youth engagement in the Silver Spring area. Commander McBain had started a lot of that focus. And like I said, when I got here, I took over for Commander McBain. He did a great job. My job was just to keep it going and try to make it better. And that's what we're doing. So Officer McLeod's been working on, he's going to be spearheading some youth sports coming up this spring as well. So a lot more coming.
And before I pass it over to Dan, what part of New Jersey?
I grew up in Mercer County, so east of Trenton, basically dead center of the state there.
No, I grew up in Essex County in the Oranges, and we've lived in all of them. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Dan Mayer, please.
I'm concerned about a Maryland bill, House Bill 487, which is described in this newsletter, that it would grant homeless individuals the right to sleep, eat, drink, and protect themselves, i.e. tent cities, from the elements on public property. And I'm hoping that you will voice some concerns about that, because, as you just explained, we had quite a few problems with the tents on this nearby Salem Road. And I don't think this is a useful law to have occur in this area. I don't know where you stand on that, but I think you need to make some noises about it. It's introduced by, and you can help me out here, Alan, Delegate Bernice McCrew North. Did I say that
Miracle
right?
North, yes. District 14, yeah.
I think
Yeah, that bill, I did. First of all, I will give credit to that delegate because we have significant concerns, and she did take time to sit down and talk with us, and I appreciate her doing that. Um, I respect her ability to draft bills and such. I did tell her, and I'll say it here, that I am opposed to that bill. I think it is going to cause us some significant problems, not only from the encampments issue and things of that nature, but there's other parts of that bill that actually might hinder our ability to help our folks get services and get help, because essentially we would have no leverage. We'd have no carrot, if you will, and really no stick either. So she heard us out. I know the chamber, Silver Spring Chamber, is aware. I believe Bethesda Chamber and things like that. So we're encouraging folks, as with any bill, write your delegates, write your elected leaders, your county officials. If you have a concern with a bill, please share it. The more voices, the better. I have, again, met with that delegate. I'm not sure what the future of that bill is going to be, but it has been drafted. So I do think it's something that is out there that we need to be concerned with.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Commander. I have another question. I want to thank Tony Galadora for mentioning this in his part of the presentation when he was talking about traffic enforcement, and he mentioned the issues that some of our neighbors have on Dale Drive, particularly at the intersection of Dale Drive and Mansfield. What is the department doing? What's their district doing for persistent speeding? There's not enough cops on the street. There's not enough patrols. So we've just noticed a pretty significant increase in people just speeding on our major roads, whether or not it's Piney Branch Road, Dale Drive, Georgia Avenue, Colesville. It seems to be a problem which is getting worse. What kinds of things can you do to enforce speeding, or or the lack of speeding?
Yeah, I mean, if I could just add on a little bit from before. So a few years ago, we reorganized our traffic divisions, and basically we have one traffic officer who handles our complaints and does our speed studies and signboards and things like that in the third district now. And then we have a centralized traffic team that goes out, and they are very data driven on where they work. So they get maps of where the crashes are, and where they're having those issues and fatal crashes, and they're focused on what we call the arterials. So your major roads, your Georgia Avenue, your Colesville Road, and they rotate around the county. So we'll get an email every few weeks. Hey, the traffic division is going to be working in your district. They're going to be focused on this area and that area. So we know they spend a ton of time on our arterials, on our major roadways where the serious crashes are happening. And unfortunately, it has been much harder to get folks into the neighborhoods because they're also busy running calls. We do run about 43,000 calls per year in the third district, and we do it with about 130 officers. So the speeding in neighborhoods is definitely a challenge, and that's why I was really kind of hoping, based on some of that information we had from the small speed study, they could take a really good look at it at our centralized traffic for cameras, look for a more long-term solution. But obviously, we do have cameras on Georgia Avenue. We do have them at many other of our major roadways. But it is Dale is also particularly hard because it's not a great place for us to do traffic enforcement, because if we pull a car over on Dale, now we're kind of blocking the road as well. So it's definitely a challenging place. And boss, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add on there.
Yeah, we have the ability, when staffing allows, to do short temporary initiatives. So I don't know the exact date. I think it's coming up soon, but we're actually allowing an officer for 45 days to do a temporary assignment to work with our other traffic officer. So we're going to add a second traffic officer just temporarily for 45 days. And I told them, I said, just get out there. We have we've received a list of various traffic complaints around the district and different neighborhoods and such. And we're just going to send this officer out as well. They don't have to run 911 calls. They just, obviously they can, and they will if they're close to an emergency, but their primary focus will be speeders and other traffic stuff. So that's what we're going to try to do over the next month or two as well to help out.
Because the complaints that we receive are not about hot spots where there's collisions. It's people driving fast through the neighborhood, going through past park entrances, and where people are crossing the streets. So pedestrians are really concerned, especially on Dale Drive. I know in the Seven Oaks at Dale and Pershing. I mean, they often get a lot of complaints about people not stopping, and when people are in the crosswalk. So it seems to be getting worse. We're coming to the 1 hour mark. One of the things I wanted to ask you when you were talking about drones, and you know so much about it, do you expect that there's going to be a drone as first responder for the White Oak and Briggs Cheney area? Would that be helpful? Seem like you could run it from the precinct, and a lot of the complaints that we hear about things going on there might be addressed with a drone out of White Oak.
Yeah, I know the county executive wants to expand the program. We obviously support that based on the data. We're seeing a lot of success in all of our categories. We will know more when we see the county executive's proposed budget here, I believe coming up in March. But if we do get funding, there was talks of funding additional sites. I know the county executive wants to, but I also don't know what his final budget's going to look like. There's a lot of things going on, right? Are we going to be losing any federal funding? What is the state's funding situation, and are they cutting back on us? What's going on with schools? So there's a lot of things I know he wants to do, but obviously he's going to make that determination here shortly on what gets sent to council. If an expansion of the drone program does make it in his budget, and if the council does vote for it, Germantown and White Oak are the, and Doug's on here, correct me if I'm wrong, but Germantown and White Oak are the next two sites that have been identified to expand.
Yeah. So our fourth site is just about to go online in Bethesda. And like the commander said, it's up to the the county executive and the budget and everything, but everybody, the council loves it. Well, I don't want to speak for them, but from everything I've heard, the council loves it, the county executive loves it. We like it. We would like to expand, and like commander said, the next two spots would be Germantown and White Oak. We're preparing, and we're always researching. We're always trying to evolve and be more efficient and be more, make sure that we are doing things that are more cost effective for the county. So we're still, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're trying to ensure that if it does pass, and if the council and the executive want us to expand, we would be ready to go next fiscal year. So we're excited. We hope it passes, but time will tell.
So circling back, continue the conversation about drones, but circling back to the arrest of the guy who did the 7 armed robberies in the district. I know that the young man at Erders called 911 immediately after they were robbed. Why wasn't a drone his first responder? Why was a drone deployed in that situation? It happened twice.
I think it did respond to at least one of them. I can go back and check. the dates and times, but I'm pretty sure it responded to at least one of those incidents. But keep in mind the drones are also not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's also weather dependent. There's some limitations with the weather, but I can go back and check.
It did respond to one of the robberies, and the guy, when the guy ran out of the store, he ran down Schuyler there, ran across Sligo Creek, and he was back in the apartments at his girlfriend's place so fast. So the drone was checking the area, and it was just that guy got lucky. He got over Sligo Creek and into the apartment building before the drone spotted him. But I do know the drone went to at least one of those calls from the market.
Well, I want to follow up. So what kind of schedule is for the drone if it's not 24/7? Is it 7 days a week at least, or is it only a few days per week?
Right now, we base everything on stats and data and everything. We are flying noon to midnight in Silver Spring. We're flying noon to midnight because that's when the most calls for service are. That's where the staffing issues and the are. We are flying Tuesday through Saturday. So we don't fly Sunday and Monday. And yeah, that's it. The reason we're doing that is, once again, it's data, but it's also staffing. I mean, there's the human element, there's still staffing, and there's still budget reasons why we can't fly 24 hours. In that area, we have to have more. It's like I said last time, we are looking for ways to evolve drone as first responders. There are ways where we can, in the northern part of the county, because the FAA restrictions are not as tight up there, we're looking at ways to kind of take the person out of it, or at least be a little bit more autonomous and be a little bit quicker, but we just can't do that in the downtown area because of the FAA regulations, because we're so close to DC. So right now it's just noon to midnight, Tuesday through Saturday, weather dependent. And it's just like, these drones, they're just like anything else. If it's raining heavily, we're not going to fly. If it's snowing, we don't want to go up there, because it's just like anything else. It's colder where it's flying. If it's up there, it can the propellers can ice. If it's super windy, we like to err on the side of caution and safety. So it's weather dependent, but normally it's noon to midnight, Tuesday through Saturday.
So thank you. That's very useful information, and maybe we can be helpful in advocating for more funded resources to that program, because we've brought on to the use of technology as the staffing has been problematic. So thank you for clarifying that for us.
The county executive in this current fiscal year.
Commander, we can't hear you very well.
Oh, how about now? You got me?
No.
No. All right. Strange.
Yes. Now. Yes.
Oh, the county executive had expanded the hours for Silver Spring in this last budget cycle, but what we're looking to do, hopefully a little bit longer term, mid-range, is work with our federal partners to try to get some of these regulations changed a little bit to where we can get approvals. The technology has increased where there might be a way to fly more with less cost. And that's what we're going to be looking to do. But we got to get some approvals to be able to do it.
Well, let me remove your spotlights here. Tony, hold on there. I'll get you. No, there will be. Oh, here we go. Remove. There we go. Well, so we've exceeded an hour. I want to thank everybody for being on the call. Does anybody have any last minute questions I'd like to ask the commander and the lieutenants? Anything that that you want to say. Um, our next meeting, Safe Silver Spring, in this format will be next. Well, Paula Edwards has got a question. Paula, please unmute and ask your question. Thank you.
Thank you. Last year, we had a very successful joint traffic enforcement effort on 16th Street above the Blair Circle and below the Blair Circle. It was a joint effort with DC and Montgomery County. And I wonder if there's a possibility for something like that this year. Thank you.
Yep, we just did something over in the Bethesda area with them with Metropolitan Police. But we like doing that stuff, so that's definitely a possibility.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Well, not seeing any hands up and not seeing anything else in the chat. I want to thank you, Commander and Lieutenant, for joining us again in this February, and look forward to our continuing dialogue and cooperation, and look forward to having another one of these meetings sometime in May.
Indeed, look forward to it. Thanks for everyone who joined. It's good to see everyone engaged and wanting to know what's going on.
Thank you for keeping us safe.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.